The congregation is the original jama'ah. And it is only in places where there is no established jama'ah, a mosque on the roadside, which people just on their way in their travel, they stop off and pray. There you can form different jama'ahs. But where you have a masjid, where there is an imam who has been designated, prayer times have been designated, there is only one jama'ah. Furthermore, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ had said, لو تعلمون ما في الصف الأول ما كانت إلا قرعة. If people knew what in terms of value is in the first line of the prayer, people would only get there by drawing lots. But being attached to the masjid means trying to catch that first takbir, being in the first line of the prayer. Furthermore, it involves remembering Allah after salah. It also involves going to the masjid for prayers like Salatul Duha, about which Prophet ﷺ said, whoever does it will get the reward of Umrah. And it also involves training our children to go to the masjid regularly, to develop a love of the masjid. And I should mention that when we are saying remembering Allah in the masjid, it does not mean, group remembrance where we gather groups together, or the imam, he says Subhanallah and everybody repeats after him Subhanallah, because this is not from the Sunnah. And when Abdullah ibn Mas'ud came into the masjid in Damascus and he found people doing this, he chided them, he spoke out against them, he asked them, what are you doing? Are you changing Allah's religion and the Prophet ﷺ is still warm in his grave? So remembrance of Allah must be in accordance with the methodology taught by Rasulullah ﷺ. It means not doing it in groups. It means not making up our own versions of dhikr, of remembrance of Allah. As some people taught that when you want to remember Allah, you just repeat the name Allah. So you say Allah, 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 and you just keep repeating that over and over and over again. Or you say, instead of saying Allah, which is Allahu, you just say Who. And you have people claiming to remember Allah by screaming this. You hear them in their so-called circles of dhikr, it sounds like a bunch of wolves. Who, like this is madness. And they think that they're remembering Allah. In fact, they're insulting Allah. This is an insult to Allah. Just as if somebody were to call you, one, by your name, and keep repeating it, your name over and over again. Muhammad, 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 Muhammad. You look at this person and say, what is wrong with this guy? We need to take him to the hospital. And if instead of calling you Muhammad, he keeps calling you Mu, 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 you say, hey, what are you doing? My name is Muhammad, not Mu. So similarly, this kind of practice of distorting Allah's names, saying them in ways which were not taught by Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, or like some say, there's one tariqah which teaches that when you say Allah's name, you start by looking at your heart and you say Allahu. Where did this come from? Where did this come from? Did Prophet Muhammad ﷺ do this? No. We even have those, of the Mahlawi order who stand up and spin themselves around in circles, like ballerinas, and they say, well, we are remembering Allah. This is remembering Allah. Where did this come from? Surely not from Rasulullah ﷺ. So when we speak about remembering Allah, we speak about remembering Him as He was remembered by Rasulullah ﷺ, as His companions understood the remembrance of Allah. And this also includes dhikr beads. This also includes dhikr beads. Those who remember Allah by counting on these beads, who started to do this practice many years after the death of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. Right? He died in the 7th century. If you go to the Encyclopedia Britannica, the biggest encyclopedia and most authoritative encyclopedia in English, and you look under rosary, you will find that the Catholics began using dhikr beads back in the 2nd century. They began it, and they described the dhikr beads of the Catholics, and it is the same description of the dhikr beads that Muslims are using today. And truly, when I was studying in Medina, we used to see in the shops that were selling these dhikr beads, the cases in which they came from Italy. These were the specialists in making dhikr beads. And what would be written on the outside of the case? Mohammedan rosaries. Because that's what they were. Mohammedan rosaries. It's not from the Sunnah. The Sunnah of Rasulullah ﷺ and his companions was to count the remembrance of Allah on the fingertips. So we don't have any religious artifacts. You see, the other religious systems, you see them caught up in a bunch of artifacts. They have different objects which they use in their worship. We don't have objects which we use in our worship. We worship Allah pure, without the need for any objects. Even a cap, for example. Some people turn the cap, which is from the Sunnah of the Sahaba and the others, natural Sunnah, to cover their heads. But some people turn it into a prayer cap. Right? So you have some mosques where they have a pile of caps by the door. When you come in, people pick up the cap, stick it on their head, they pray. When they're finished, they take it off, put it back, and they step out. You know? Or they carry the caps in their pockets or handkerchiefs, you know. And when the time comes for prayer, they take it out, they tie it in some knots, and they put it on their head. Sometimes this handkerchief, they've blown their nose in. And they're sticking it on their head, feeling, no, I must cover my head at any cost. So, the remembrance of Allah should be as Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught us to remember Him. And the 4th category is that of 2 men or women who love each other only for the sake of Allah. It is the nature of human beings to love others for what one gets from others. So and so helps me, so and so gives me, I love that person. When they don't give me, I don't love them anymore. Right? This is the nature. We tend to love people for what we get from them. Whereas the true love, the higher love, the love which is pleasing to God, which God rewards us for, is to love our brothers and our sisters for the sake of Allah. Only for the sake of Allah. We meet them for the sake of Allah, and we separate for the sake of Allah. There are no ulterior motives. There are no ulterior motives. And this means that our brothers and our sisters have a right in our wealth. We help them whenever the opportunity presents itself. And there are a number of rights of brotherhood about which the Prophet ﷺ spoke. And in general, we can say that the rights of brotherhood not only involve the giving of and sharing of what we have, but it also involves the protecting of our brothers and sisters' honor. When we love somebody for the sake of Allah, we protect their honor. Meaning that if people are speaking about our brothers and our sisters, we stop them. We do not allow them to backbite, to slander, etc. We're not silent in times when their honor is being destroyed. Also, we are silent about their faults when there is no need to express their faults. There are certain times, of course, when we will speak, and we should speak about the faults of our brothers or sisters.